Brilliance Audio presents the unabridged recording of Wishing for Tomorrow by Hilary McKay, performed by Justine Eyre. Chapter 1. Once Upon a Time. Once upon a time there was a city. In the city there was a square. In the square there was a house. It belonged to two sisters, Miss Maria Minchin and Miss Amelia Minchin. From the street, the house looked very much like all the other houses in the square, tall and narrow and respectable, with servants in the basement, faces at the windows, and sparrows on the roof. If anything made it a little different from its neighbours, it was the faces at the windows. There were so many of them, and they looked out so often, and they were all girls. The house was a school, a boarding school for girls. There were little ones bouncing up to wave to anybody passing in the road below. There were big ones telling secrets and using the window-pane reflections to admire their hair. Mirrors were very rare in the Miss Minchin's house, and the few that existed had such thick, cheap glass that even the prettiest, healthiest people looked like they'd been recently drowned in green water. And as well as the little girls and the big girls, there was Ermengarde, who was too shy to wave and never told secrets or admired her reflection, having been brought up to believe she was plain. Ermengarde gazed out of the windows more than anyone, and her eyes were always wide and expectant, as if she was waiting for the answer to a question, or the end of a story. Often she took no part in the gossiping, whispering, schoolroom world around her. Sometimes she didn't even listen. 8-year-old Lottie always listened. Lottie was officially a little one, but it was the school's older students who interested her most. Lavinia, for instance, an unpredictable girl with a sharp and lovely face and a way of glancing through half-closed eyes that even her best friend, Jessica, found slightly scary. Lavinia was the most interesting girl in the school, decided Lottie. Jessica was the prettiest. Gertrude was the rudest. Ermengarde is a non-entity, said Lavinia. She is a plod, agreed Jessica, and it was true that Ermengarde did not shine at anything, not lessons, nor games, nor jokes, nor stories round the fire. She had one skill, however. She was very quick and deft at freeing insects that were trapped against the glass. Once there was a butterfly, said Lottie, but it is usually just blue bottles. Disgusting things, said Lavinia. Or wasps. I'm sure you're supposed to kill wasps, said Jessie. Ermengarde never took any notice of these remarks. It was something she loved to do, to release the desperate buzzing into an airy silence. She would have released all the faces at the windows, too, if she could, even including the stinging Lavinia. Ermengarde did not think the Miss Minchin's house was a good place to be. The house was full of whispers. The whispers were part of the pattern of the house, like the peculiar musty smell from the basement, part dinner, part dampness, the tick of the enormous grandfather clock in the hall, the night lights that burned in their saucers of water, and the scratchings and squabblings of the sparrows on the roof. Often the whispers came from behind the curtains, sometimes several voices fluttering and chattering. Diamond mines. Her French is perfect. I guessed that Becky was under the table. Once, at a high window without curtains, it was just one voice, very quietly. My papa is dead. Sarah's voice. Whatever else Ermengarde heard or did not hear, she always noticed Sarah's voice. She and Sara were best friends. Best friends, even though one was a servant in the attic and the other was a schoolgirl. Even though one was pink with firelight and dinners and the other was white with neglect. Even, most remarkably of all, thought Ermengarde, though one had a mind as bright as a flame and the other had a head that hurt at the sight of a lesson book. Thank goodness lessons were over for the day, thought Ermengarde, and she leaned her hot forehead against the cold window-pane and sighed such an enormous huffing sigh that Lavinia and Jessica looked up.